So Chris, how did you go from picking up garbage in 97 or whatever it was to now being in the position that you are at the company? Like, what did you have to go through?
Well, I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of great mentors over the years working for the company. We've had some amazing team members that have helped me grow. Back in 97, 98, I was working summers out of a construction site just down the road, the Landings, on the river up in the North Loop, before the North Loop was the North Loop. We built a bunch of townhomes up there, and that was my intro to the company, working with our construction division, Craftsman Construction. And we built those townhomes over the course of 6 years. So I got in there, but for the next 10 years, I spent a lot of summers working and learning about different divisions of the company, from commercial to property management to development. And then in 2008, after working about 10 summers, for periods of each summer for the company, I graduated college and kind of contemplated whether I wanted to come back and work full-time or go do something else. I ended up deciding to come to the company and start working full-time August of 2008. I've been here ever since, but in August of 2008, I was still a rookie with the company, and I was at that point an assistant developer that was doing all of the legwork that anyone wanted me to do. If it meant making copies, if it meant really diving in and putting together an entire pro forma, if it meant researching for the night. I was working long days, and I think that was both good and bad early on. I worked long hours for the first 4 to 5 years I was at the company. I was working 70 to 80 hour weeks every single week.
Well, and it's the recession. I mean, 2008, I graduated when you did. So you're graduating when real estate's in a really tumultuous time.
And it was a good time to learn.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best times to learn. I mean, the type of ways we were able to piece deals together was just incredible. We built a 4-story new construction project in 7 months in 2010 because we had to deliver tax credits by the end of that year, and we only had 7 months to work with.
Find a way.
We built projects with no construction financing. We built them so quickly that we could bring in our permanent financing once they were built.
Wow.
And we were able to partner with GCs and really work through all these different hoops to get projects built during a really challenging time back then, 11 years ago. But it was also a really good time to learn. And we didn't backfill positions at that point. So as we had people leave the company over a couple of years, we were fortunate never have to really let people go, but we also didn't fill positions once people left. So it really required me to step in and do more, but that also allowed me to grow. And I made mistakes as I grew, and I learned a lot, but I also had great mentors that I worked closely with, from Sue Favre, who was our general counsel at the time, to, of course, George, my father, to so many others, Rich Keeman, who you guys met earlier down in the lobby. He's been with the company for 15 years. Shiva Anderson, who's our SVP of Property Management. I've been around these people for my entire career working at the company, and they've really helped me grow.
Well, and now you're a vice president, right? What's your focus now? My
focus is operations and capital markets, which is broad. So it's effectively everything we do. It's the operations of the existing portfolio, and then capital markets is the financing we bring in to finance our developments, to finance our existing portfolio. Right now we're refinancing a lot. Interest rates, and that's really one of the things that's helping us through this recession that we're now going into, is low rates. I mean, we're refinancing probably half our portfolio debt right now, about $400 million of debt over the next 3 to 4 months, and that's.
So you can be opportunistic at a time like this.
You can be opportunistic with financing right now, and you can be opportunistic with, I think, a lot of things right now, but it's challenging. We're facing a ton of challenges right now with our hotels, with our retail, with our office, even with our housing. I mean, our residents are really struggling to pay their rent, but we're taking advantage of very low interest rates. I think rates are going to go lower the next couple months here.
Sure.
I would love to know what you think about, restaurants, retail. You talked about the future of this building, what could come into this building, but you really invested in downtown East overall. And now we're sitting right now in the coronavirus issue. What are you seeing for this area? What are you thinking about that, specifically retail and restaurants?
Well, our mission as a company for 40 years has been building communities, enriching neighborhoods. So when we come into a neighborhood like this, we've done this in a lot of neighborhoods around the Midwest, we're looking to bring in places where people can live, work, and play. And this neighborhood has been a backyard for us for 20 years. We moved into this building 20 years ago, and we came in with a mission to deliver housing across all income levels. We're delivering affordable housing across the street. We're going to do a big project down the road that'll have a lot of affordable housing. We're also doing market rate housing. We've done for sale housing, so it's living across all income levels. It's work. I mean, we've had this office building. We're delivering more buildings that will have jobs. And the retail, the play, is also jobs, working, but it also delivers the play, and that's what we're really trying to do with this building, is bring in the play.
Sure.
And that's what we were close to doing over the last few months, but of course, there's been some now new impacts to what we're trying to accomplish with retail, and that will last for probably, we think, a couple years, but this neighborhood is primed, I think, for the long term to deliver the play components that people are really looking for. They were looking for that. We have the people living here and working here now, and this building will be the building, I think, that people play in a lot for the next 20 years, and other stuff's going to come into our buildings as well. We have Trader Joe's, Jimmy John's, Starbucks, and restaurants at the hotel, and a restaurant that will go in across the street at the vicinity. So live, work, play is really our objective here.
Still the name of the game, regardless of this moment in time. You got to have a long range view, likely.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Chris, most people don't want to make predictions because it's so unknown, but with a portfolio like what you guys have, you sort of are forced into a position where you have to forecast a little bit down the road.
Yep.
Do you have anything that you think would be helpful, that you get to see some data that you can share with people who might be watching this, who are wondering what to do with their real estate investments?
Absolutely. So I'll start with multifamily housing. That's the biggest chunk of our portfolio. 85% of our portfolio is multifamily housing.
Sure.
So our stay-at-home started March 16th, and April and May have been the first 2 months for us to really look at in full. Our collections for April were about the same as May, so both months really met our expectations, and I think as a whole, the industry here in the Midwest, being an affordable market, we saw pretty good collections compared to other parts of the country.
Why do you think that is? Considering unemployment right now, that's pretty decent collections.
It's threefold for the Midwest. It's one, we're affordable. Two, unemployment boost. If you were making less than $70,000 approximately, and you lost your job and you're qualifying for unemployment currently, you are now making an equal or greater amount off of unemployment. That's a good thing for the short term. And then three, the stimulus checks that everyone got in the second half of April that were making less than $99,000. And that really helped people have the confidence to make their May 1st rent payment, which is actually why we saw an uptick in collections for early May compared to early April.
What do you think about like later this summer, fall though?
We're concerned. I mean, the unemployment boost goes for 4 months, so it goes through early August. So I think for June, July, August, we're comfortable that collections will remain strong in multifamily. But this fall, and I really think the fourth quarter and the first quarter of next year are going to be the two toughest quarters, where we'll see some revenues decline in the short term. We'll see increased vacancy. I think vacancy will go up to 7, 8, 9% in multifamily. And I think it'll certainly challenge people during lease-ups. But multifamily is going to hold up well long term. If you're positioning yourself with your financing and with really your intent to hold long term, you're going to do fine with multifamily. I think what we'll find here in the Midwest, being affordable compared to other markets, is we're going to see people move here because we have space, we got green space, we have a lot of lakes, we got areas where people are going to be a bit more attracted to those areas in the future. But we also have a market that I think, much like the rest of the country, the multifamily market's going to be more appealing long term as more people work from home, as less people travel. We're already considering making modifications to future projects and adding more 1+10s or 2+10s, assuming that people are going to be working from home.
So knowing what you know and working so deeply in the capital market side, do you think that the way that debt is structured on a lot of this multifamily for some of the other people who own in that market, are they going to run into issues with like debt service coverage ratio covenants, and like as vacancy increases, are people going to run into problems where they're not going to be able to maybe maintain their financing on some of those deals?
I think in large part here in the Twin Cities, the developer, owner, operators of multifamily will not run into issues with multifamily, but there will be an increased percentage that do run into challenges, specifically coming through the lease-ups where the construction debt was not longer term and they're not able to bring in the permanent debt to cover the payoff of the construction debt.
Sure.
I don't think we'll see a lot of that, but I do think we'll see some of that, much like we do every recession.
Yeah,
I mean,
some
every
more supply
cycle,
comes
You
into the
get
market.
caught in that cycle.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the answer is yes, we'll see some of that, but I think multifamily housing here in the Twin Cities is, as we look at the various groups that have been buying real estate in Minneapolis, from around the country. So we look at lenders that have been financing multifamily here. They still remain very confident that the Twin Cities is a really good long-term investment.
Sure.
So I think as long as you've positioned yourself well, both at the asset level and as a company,
Having
and
reserves,
yeah,
et cetera.
having the reserves. But there's going to be strain, and I think certainly those that have a lot of retail, have a lot of hotels, have a lot of office, that also have multifamily.
Yeah.
The strain isn't going to be as much the multifamily as it's going to be everything else that they have.
What are you seeing in office? Any requests for rent relief? Yeah.
We are seeing requests for rent relief. What we are typically providing for our retail and office tenants, if they are experiencing hardship, which of course restaurants are, retail is, office is a little bit, but not as much, because they're working from home, they're still producing. They don't rely on the customers coming in their front doors as much as our restaurants do, of course, and our hotels do. We're typically providing our retail tenants that are experiencing hardship with April and May deferment. So it's deferred over the course of their lease.
Not necessarily
amortized.
extension in term on the back end
No,
or anything.
we're typically just amortizing it over the term of their lease. And that's something we've provided to about 20% of our commercial tenants. We had about a 75% collection rate for our commercial and office in April, and we're doing the same in May. So it's dropped off quite a bit, but I mean, it didn't drop off a cliff. And I think some of our peers that have different types of commercial tenants certainly saw more or less. From a collection standpoint, I've heard as low as 40%, I've heard as high as 85-90%.
Okay.
But I mean, office and retail have taken a hit, but not as badly as hospitality. Hospitality's been the most substantially impacted industry out there as a whole.
I build hotels, so I feel you, my friend.
I know we have 4 hotels.
Yeah. I'm building 4 hotels right now, so it's.
Well, those hotels, hopefully, they're going to open as we're coming through this. And
Yeah, I think they're going to be beautiful, but it's just that market overall. And it's cool to talk about the short term. We're in a really interesting situation right now, you know, all of us producing work right now during COVID-19. But I'd love to hear a little bit what you're thinking about the long term too. You know, what kind of trends coming out of this might sustain for the long term, but just in your role, what are you excited about in the future of this company? What are you envisioning?
Well, what I'm really excited about right now is how hard our team and our partners are working towards advancing our technology. For our multifamily, it's virtual leasing. It's really enhancing the virtual experience for our customers in the buildings, as we can't have that face-to-face interaction like we're somehow having right now. I'm not sure how this is working, but we're doing it. But no, the virtual experience, that's a big part of the future for our customers. A lot of what I told her, what we discussed about 2 hours ago before you guys got here with our team, we do Friday afternoon meetings from 3:30 to 4:15, 4:30. I left a little early.
Yeah.
But as you guys were waiting upstairs, I was kind of closing it out saying, I mean, a lot of the work we're doing right now isn't just for this period. A lot of the work we're doing is for the long term.
Right.
Sure.
The virtual leasing work that we're doing right now to really build this platform is for the long term. Some of the services we're adding to our customers are for the long term. A lot of the work that we are putting in hundreds of hours on right now, I mean, we can't just view it as related to COVID-19. It's really advancing the industry as a whole, and that's neat. So there's going to be some positive outcomes coming through this. There's a lot of negative challenges, and but I think some of the work we're doing right now as an industry as a whole with our peers to advance multifamily housing are going to bring more customers into multifamily for the long term, as they're going to have a better experience living in our buildings.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the story of your career. It's been the story of our careers. Like, through those challenges of what's going on, we iterate, we evolve. And you can't necessarily predict where things are going to go at the speed until we run into these issues and we're sort of forced to do it. But I totally agree. Even the way, you know, my team's working, how they want to work, not just now, but the foreseeable future, that changes the way that we're looking at our office space. You know, you can start to watch that trickle through the markets, and you have a pretty diverse portfolio, so you get to see those moving pieces working together.
Absolutely. In the way we're contemplating building our projects in the future. I mean, one of the considerations we've had for a downtown project that we're building now is completely back on the table, and that was putting gas connections out to the balconies. It's a concrete building, and that's an expense, but you look at the value that having a private gas grill is right now. I mean, people want their gas grill, and if they're in an apartment building where they had the common area gas grill,
You bring the suburbs to them, to the city.
Right now, those common area gas grills are shut
That's
down.
amazing.
Yeah, it's investment in,
So-
and potentially like less turnover of tenants, right?
Yep.
Like really bond with that space and functionality.
And I mean, we're looking physically, operationally, and in other areas. I mean, a lot of the stuff we're doing right now is going to last long term, but there's short-term challenges. I mean, we've certainly, I mean, had to focus on expense reduction, as everyone has.
Yeah.
Revenues are plateauing. They're absolutely going to plateau for the near future in multifamily. They've dropped off a cliff on hospitality. They've come down a pretty drastic hill with the retail and office. So as part of that, we have to immediately look at refis and operating expenses, CapEx, all those things, and say, can we defer CapEx? Can we reduce certain operating expenses? The answer is yes, because we have less turnover occurring in our buildings. And can we cut the cost of our debt quickly? And that's the big thing we've done, is really dive in and say, how fast can we get an appraiser to give us an appraisal? We've been getting appraisers to turn appraisals in 2 weeks or less. We've been closing from start to finish refis in 3 to 4 weeks. And that's because I think that's another thing that Twin Cities has. It's got really good banks. And it's relying on the relationships, because right now it's all about relationships. I think if you're trying to bring in a new bank with a new relationship, new borrower on a new deal, you're going to have no chance. But so we've looked to our relationships that we've had for a long time to really assist us through this period. And they've stepped up, and low-cost financing's been available to them, and they've in turn provided it to us and kept their spreads down. And that's really helped us reduce our rates, in most cases, down to the mid-3s.
Great. Good for you. This is a question that I think people want to. What's it like having, growing up in a family where your father did so much for the city, like built such an amazing company, and you get to grow up in that. Like most people don't get that experience. What is that?
Well, I've certainly been around it my entire life. He has done so much for a lot of cities. He continues to, and I'll tell you this, I mean, he's got no intention of slowing down his work with cities on the development front. He's working proactively every single day with the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Des Moines, Westminster, Milwaukee. That's the work he loves to do. Working with cities to kind of envision what a block could look like, what a neighborhood could look like. So it's been something that I've really enjoyed being able to grow up around and see the impact that the company's had because of that vision that he has. And that vision is what steers us forward. It does. It really provides us with the opportunities. And cities look to us because of the work we do. We do complex work. We do mixed income, mixed use, multi-phase development. We'll go in and do affordable market rate hotels, office, historic, new market. I mean, it's a mixed bag, but it's our platform. It's our bread and butter, and it's complex butter. We do what we do, and it's complex, but it allows us to step into some pretty neat things. And he's really taken the company from a long ways, from a fourplex in South Minneapolis to where it is today. And we're going to continue moving forward and growing, and we've got a really good team around us. Us being George and myself, we have 550 team members, and us being those 550 team members too. That's what's driving us forward. That's our engine. Our engines are operations. It's how we're performing at our hotels, our apartments, our retail. That's actually what allows us to move forward now. We've gotten that big. The better our existing portfolio does, the more we can grow. That's what drives us forward.
It's like a foundation, right? You can build from. And I have to say, I've experienced a number of your team members, both in a tour, so someone just responsible for sharing a building with consumers. It's incredible through different parts of your business. And I definitely see that passion come through your employees, which is a lot to say when you're in an organization of your size. So well done, Brent.
Well, it's good to have good friends like you guys to talk to and have whiskey with and play Monopoly with. And
thank you.
This is a great whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us. This was an amazing tour. Fun to play this with you. And
I'm pretty sure I won at Monopoly.
Not yet.
You did win, but you kind of cheated there.
Oh, yeah. I got one roll and I landed on go, so.
Yeah, you took $5,000. It's supposed to be $400 or something.
Yeah.
You may notice the bank has been off camera this whole time. That's for a reason.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.